Hello and welcome to another tutorial from Fly the Noob. Today we are taking a look at the Hawk T1 jet here in MSFS 2024. This is the one that I picked up from Just Flight. This is obviously a bare bones tutorial. It's a flight simmer's guide, as that's how it's intended as usual with my tutorials. It is a flight simmer's bare bones guide to get you started up with this particular aircraft. It is by no means an exhaustive look at all of its systems. It's not an in-depth study. It's just meant to get you started up and flying with the aircraft. So today we're going to focus on the startup and takeoff in particular with this very lovely jet. Currently we are at Valley RAF base apparently in Wales, and the code for that in the Microsoft Flight Sim is EGOV, Echo Golf Oscar Victor. I hope I said that correctly, I'm not too sure, but yes, EGOV. All right, so that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the aircraft and see what we need to do here. Alright, as you can see from the cockpit, this is not exactly the most modern jet in the world. However, it is not too archaic for us to get flying with that. I don't know if I use that word correctly, but yeah, I don't think it's too old, but at the same time it is not exactly the most modern jet. I feel like it's a nice fun little balance, right? I'll just put this stick out of the way just for improved visibility. All right, now if we take a look at this, there is a tablet, and this tablet is quite nice. It has a lot of settings. You can also change its position between floating here off to our right and down here on the pilot's seat, whichever you prefer. Doesn't really matter much. You've got lots of options that you can set. The altimeters, cockpit views, and vortex effects and all that good stuff. You can set it up if you want to. You've also got your OFP place where you can fetch sim brief plans. We're not going to do that today. You've got maps, charts. You've got your notes section where you can actually take some notes if you want to. You've got your checklists. So you got lots of stuff right here. Obviously, you can follow all this checklist if you want. Today, we're not going to follow the checklist. We're just going to perform a quick startup. And you've got your top or descent calculator there, as well as some basic settings here if you want to mess with it. All right, now let's go back to the aircraft page, which is what opens up by default usually. And here we can have our aircraft states, our autopilot, which is not present here in the cockpit in any form that I know of. You do have it here. You can control the aircraft with a sort of artificial implementation of an autopilot if you want that right here. You've got your equipment and your doors right here as well as configurations. You can configure various payloads, and you can mess around and have a look at that as you wish. But for today, we are going to leave everything blank. Just focus on starting up the aircraft. Okay, first things first. It does have chocks and covers and all that good stuff, but however, they are not interactive in the walk around mode, so you can't really remove them per se in the walk around mode. However, they are modeled there. We need to use the tablet to remove them. Just something to remember, and make sure you do that before you get started up. So chocks, covers, flags, and the steps can go away. Now you can obviously close the canopy door from right here, as well as the nose hatch, which is also present right here. You can remove the GPS here if you want. See, you've got the options for that. See, to do whatever you like. Today I'll leave the GPS on there. Close up the canopy door like so, and lock it up. There we go. That is looking great. Okay. Now, once that's done, we can go ahead and turn on battery number 1 right here. So there you go. And that will begin a set of alarm there. Just press this to silence that off. Afterwards, let's go to our oxygen for pilot on. Let's put this one right here, the condition right here to normal. After that, we can move on to our left. Anti-skid on. Right there. Okay. And we can put this engine start button right here. We can leave it in the on position. You don't have to do this right now, but you can put it in the on position. After you're done with this, you need to go behind right here to the co-pilot position. Obviously, you can remove the visibility of the co-pilot right here. See, there we go. We can disable it. Go back here. And we've disabled the visualization of the co-pilot. But you need to come back in here and do the same thing here. Oxygen needs to come on. Anti-skid needs to go off. And only when you turn it off in both the cockpits will this light extinguish. There you go. You can put this engine start to on. And once that's done, we don't need to come back into this cockpit again. That's why we just get rid of this right away, so we don't have to come back here again. Okay, let's go back to our main cockpit right here. Next, we need to put our TCAS, which is right here, to standby mode. There we go. That's done. Let's put our TACAN on receiving and transmitting right there. TX/RX. The ILS here, depending on whether you're using VOR or ILS, you can choose your correct mode. You can switch it as required, tune the frequency as required. You can come here, VHF, UHF. I can go to that right there. Good. Now, you can obviously set your... What else? What else do we want to do here? You can set up nav lights. You should do that obviously as soon as you get into the aircraft if possible. Your anti-collision lights can go to red. You can turn on your panel lights, turn on your compass lights. You can control your panel lights with these three knobs right here. On the port side, which is the left, you can control them. The center for your 6-pack instrument lighting right there. And on your starboard side, right, which is, in other words, your right hand side, you can turn up those lights as you require them. Okay, so all of that is done. Now, let's also take a look at this right here. We need to put this to slave mode right here. That's the compass. Now, you need to select the latitude at which you're flying. I usually don't do this while flying, but you need to select the latitude in which you're flying. But yeah, that is something to remember. I don't usually do that. Alrighty. Next, we can go up here and turn on the GPS if we like. There are various modes available, and it operates pretty much like your standard Garmin. You've got all your waypoint options and all of that stuff, flight plan options. It's all right here. It's very standard and you can use it as required. So for the time being, I'm just going to restart it and let it initialize itself. Good. So while that's happening, we can come here. I need to press continue for that. There we go. While that's happening, we can come here. There's a lever here. The fuel cock control. We need to put that to the on position before starting our engines. Okay. That is done. We need to make sure our parking brake is on, which it is. This is the on position right there. That is off. Obviously, you can have controls bound for all of this. There we go. Next, there's a rudder lock right here, the red lever. If this is engaged, like it is right now, your rudder will not be operable. You won't be able to deflect your rudder. So we need to unlock that right there. Once all of that is done, we can put battery 2 to on, fuel pumps on, pitot heat on. Now we can go ahead and press the relight button right here, and we will wait for GTS right here to open up and show green. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Relight button. We can hear the spooling up of what is kind of like the APU. We'll wait for GTS here to turn green. There we go, GTS green. Once that's ready, we can go ahead and press engine start button right here to the start position like so. Okay, and that will get rotation going here, and you'll see your RPM climbing. Once it passes about right after 10, you can go ahead and click that lever right there on the throttle. That is to remove the throttle from the fuel cutoff position. That will get your RPM spooling up and your engine starting up. So that's happening right now. As it happens, the annunciator lights will all go off. Let's wait for that. Meanwhile, we also need to turn our UHF here to both. If you're using it really, I mean, most of the time I don't use it, but you can turn that. There you go, things coming to life slowly. We'll wait for the main attitude indicator to come to life. That takes a bit of time. Our GPS is done though. You can see that hydraulic 2 still shows amber light on the annunciator panel right there. And to fix that, we just need to reset the second hydraulic system. To do that, you come right here, hydraulic 2 reset, press it, and you'll see the hydraulic pressure rising right here on that small dial, and that light will go off as well. In addition to that, you've seen that the attitude indicator has come to life as well. There you go. And just like that, everything is looking good for us. Okay, 6 packs are now back to life. Now, at this point, you can go ahead and set the altimetric pressure using this control right here, or if you have any controls bound, you can just press to do the local pressure there. You set it up in the barometric pressure, and that's done. There we go. All right. Now, once this is done, you can put TCAS to normal, and your landing and taxi light can go on, which is the light right at the nose of the aircraft, right here. That is the only landing and takeoff light that this aircraft has. Right here, depending on whether you're following TACAN or your ILS system, you can switch between the two. Okay, gonna leave it on ILS mode because I don't really use TACANs for navigation. All right. Once all of that is done, if you don't want your tablet to be showing, you can hide your tablet just by using the button you would usually use for your ground crew and VHF. So there you go. You can do that right here. Now, the aircraft does have an air brake. The air brake is at the back. And let me try and show you guys that. It's at the back. It extends out to slow down the aircraft if you want it, but it is an air brake. It is not a spoiler. It is not deployable on the ground. So if you would like to see it while you're on the ground, you have to first put the air brake to test mode. And then, I believe you've got your... that's for the seat. Sorry. That's for the seat, sorry. Once you put it in test mode, if you've got controls bound to it, you can try and lower your air brakes, and let's see how that happens. Okay, so there you go. That is what the air brake looks like. It really only has lower and raise options, nothing else to it. Okay, good. I'm not able to control it otherwise, so on the ground, that's the only way to have a look at it. But while you're in the air, it does work like an air brake if you need to slow down, and you can use that occasionally if you want to slow down while you're trying to land, for example. Okay, so once that's done, you can now go ahead and taxi the aircraft and hold it short of the runway. So that's what we're going to do right here. We'll go ahead and perform a takeoff just as a matter of exercise. So after everything is set up, we're going to go ahead now, taxi and hold short of the runway, and I'll take it from there. One thing to note, this aircraft does require quite a bit of throttle RPM, right about 80 in fact, to taxi effectively. That's something I find quite strange. Just something to note here. It's not exactly the most smoothest taxiing aircraft, at least in the simulator. It's not very smooth to taxi, as you can tell, giving it a lot of power. However, when taking off and flying, it's absolutely not a problem. Just whilst on the ground, it also gets away from you just as quickly. So when you try to taxi in a straight line, it does get away from you as well. So it's an interesting aircraft to try and control. Okay, so I shall see you at the end of taxi. Alright, we are holding short of our takeoff runway for the day. Once we're here, we can put our TCAS before takeoff to TA or TA and RA mode, whichever you like. After that, we can go ahead and put our anti-collision lights to white. I don't think that's exactly necessary, but I like to do that. You turn that to white. Once all of that is done, if you want, you can use the emergency lights here. Obviously, we don't need them right now. But yeah, once that's done, we are ready to line up with our runway and perform the takeoff. So let's go ahead and line up with the runway, and we'll perform a takeoff. Alright, we've lined up with our runway right here, and to take off, pretty simple. You advance the throttles and you can begin rotating at around 120 knots or so. That is when you can begin rotating. But before we do take off here, we need to take care of our flaps here. So let's put our flaps to halfway position, which is the mid. And we'll do that, and the flap will immediately drop to the mid position right here. Okay, there you go. It's that simple right there. Obviously, you can have controls bound to that, so you don't have to worry about the switch. Okay. Once that's done, let's go ahead, advance our power all the way. Okay. Around 120 knots, we can begin rotating, and we are off the ground. Okay, got positive rate and good rate of climb there. You can put your gear up. You can also put your flaps up. You need to keep your flaps up as our speed comes through 200 there. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, you've made it out. There you go. So that was a quick, simple startup tutorial for the Just Flight Hawk T1. I will make a full flight tutorial and some of the procedural tutorials for this aircraft. I'll get to that in the coming few days, hopefully. But yeah, there you go. A quick, nice and easy startup tutorial. And with this particular tutorial, just with this video, you'll be pretty much set to go ahead and explore the aircraft by yourself, get started, mess around with it a lot, and you will learn a lot about it. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this little video here useful. If you did, please leave a like, consider commenting and subscribing and doing all that good stuff you can do on YouTube to support my channel. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I shall catch you guys in the next one. Until then, have a good day. Bye-bye.